Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Shay Ali here with you on Inspired Online. And today, well, I have a bit of an unusual outing for me because I've never met this beautiful lady personally, unlike most of the other people I have on here. But she has written an incredible book, which I wanted to share with you guys, particularly given the work that I do in the world, and wanted to tap a bit more into her wisdom. So why has she gained my attention? Well, she is an expert in gender studies and has done a lot of amazing work on how women are treated, why women, maybe don't get those top positions or in those top places in life. Her book was actually #1 in the subject of gender studies last week on Amazon. So amazing congratulations to you there. And she's an incredibly engaging writer, writing in this vitally important topic to help us really achieve the equality that our law and legal systems think that, well, we should have, and we definitely should have. But unfortunately, we haven't quite achieved that in life, or certainly in these societies as yet. And, I think her work is a really valuable gift to us to help us along our way with that. So that's why I wanted to welcome her on the show and share her with you all. So please welcome Anne Whitehouse. And Anne, I'd love to ask you our first question, which is, if you had to share your wisdom with the world in a nutshell, what would you say?
Oh, good afternoon, Jane. Lovely to be here. Well,
Thank you.
this is the situation we have. We are modern women. We believe we have rights. We go out into the world to achieve in our careers and prove ourselves. But when we get there, something happens to undermine us. And many women have this issue. They start to achieve and then they get dragged back by low confidence, by burnout, stress, anxiety, imposter syndrome. They want to promote themselves, but they pull back. They feel that they're blocked. They feel limited. And this is the thing, it's out of proportion. They can't understand why, because it's not related to their qualifications or their abilities or their performance or actually what's going on at the surface. It's something subtle, but it has this huge effect. So what happens? Well, but the equation doesn't add up. So we'll then say, there's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I can't hack it. And we further undermine ourselves. So I know this has happened to many women, myself included. And if this is you, if you're listening and this is you, what I'm here today to tell you is that there is nothing wrong with you at all, nothing. And this is the problem, that women are trying to fit ourselves into a system which was not designed to include us. It simply wasn't designed. It was created by men for men in the days before women had opportunity. It is what it is, it's history. But in addition to that, there's a whole big, like an operating system sitting in like a subtle undercurrent in society. It's in all of our subconscious minds, and it's deeply rooted in the patriarchal past. We think that we are empowered, but we're actually not. We are trying to embrace our rights, but under the surface, we are lacking what I call a power foundation. And I spent 20 years analysing this lack of power foundation, all its subtleties, what happens in our subconscious minds, the reaction that we have and why, and how we can free ourselves from this to achieve without the personal cost. So this is what I've just published in my book, Pull Back Your Power, which I'm very excited to be sharing with you this today, because as you said, we have the rights in law, but we aren't experiencing them in our lives, and we need to change this. And this is the wisdom that I'm here to share with the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you for that. Now let's where shall I start here? Let's start with your story, actually. Why are you so, but I mean, obviously you're a woman, I'm a woman, there are many women out there, but why did you feel that this was your mission? What drove you to help others in this?
Right. Well, I was what you'd call an academic high achiever. I went to Cambridge, science PhD, postdoctoral research fellowship, lecturer in engineering. And so I was there on this high achieving path, and I got out into the wider world of engineering. into that university department, and I felt as if the rug had been pulled out from under me. The stress reaction that I had was it took me completely by surprise. I could do the job absolutely fine, but my subconscious was reacting in a way that I just did not understand. The anxiety, stress, insomnia became long-term panic. In my case, it turned into chronic fatigue, and eventually I lost my academic career through this pattern, and I couldn't understand why, because I could do the job, and on the surface, there wasn't anything really that could explain it. So it was my quest to understand, why had I been unable to function in that career for which I was so eminently qualified and capable. So it was that, and that journey took me deep into the subconscious. And then it took me beyond that into the power dynamic, the energy flow between people when we interact, and what messages we are receiving from the people around us, from the institutions we go into, and how that is really undermining women in this enormous way. And that is then creating the enormous inner conflict, which explains exactly what's happening. The messages that we're receiving are actually saying to us, you're forbidden from being here. You're going to be punished for being here. This is archaic and obsolete, but it's there under the surface, and it's giving these very negative fear-based beliefs to our subconscious, which then reacts in a knee-jerk response. And this is the problem, because it's a knee-jerk, it's instantaneous when we go into a situation. It then triggers like a cascade stress reaction. And we have no idea about this. We're there saying, I need to give this presentation. I want to promote myself to that position. And your subconscious is saying, you're going to be killed for this. So this enormous mismatch between where we are mentally, consciously, and what's going on underneath is pulling up the rug from under us. Okay. So that was it. So like I say, it's taken me 20 years to put all the pieces together and find a way of bringing ourselves out of this. And this is where women's empowerment has really fallen short, because we do the surface things, and we think we're empowered, but we are running on empty. We're not empowered. Some women will be taking on a more masculine, more aggressive energy in order to get the ladder, and it serves them to a certain point, but there's still a personal cost. They're still not being truly aligned with who they are as women in their true female power. And then other people like me I didn't take on the male energies. I was still trying to be an achiever, and because I still wanted to get to the top, but as myself, but it was simply impossible. That in the conflict, my system simply couldn't take that amount of stress, and that's goes into the burnout path. And we do one thing or the other, but we shouldn't have to. We should be free to be ourselves in our unique version of being female, and still be able to achieve in the world. But what we've got this legacy we've inherited. We've got power dynamic between people, and it's all under the surface. People aren't doing this on purpose. And it does explain the unconscious bias and things that people say you can't analyze. You can analyze them.
Okay, lovely. Well, I'll ask you this then. Do you think it is possible in today's society this sounds like a silly question actually, to be a female, in terms of like actually bring your feminine qualities to the workplace and still be successful? Do you think that that's possible?
Well, possible. And the problem is that at the moment, as soon as we go into that situation, bearing in mind that we've had these messages right from childhood, and depending on what your background is, what your culture is, it's going to be a greater or lesser extent. Personally, I was brought up in a very equal opportunities household. My parents encouraged me to be a scientist, to get up there, beat the men. There was no inequality between myself and my brother at all. So you'd have thought I'd have been ideally placed to embrace my freedoms as a 21st century British woman. But all of that hidden stuff was there undermining me. I didn't know about it. If you're from a woman from a culture which is still patriarchal on the surface, you're going to have it even more difficult. But what's happening at the moment is, because we go thinking that we have our rights, every time we are trying to be ourselves, the message we get from the people around us, and from the default in society, which is all very much based on male is the default. Everything is made for men, and we have to adapt to it. we think, okay, so I got to work here, but
Mm.
your subconscious thinks, hang on a minute, the benchmark says male, I'm female, there's something wrong with me.
Mm.
I have to operate in a certain way. I mean, the men I worked with, they were decent people. Don't get me wrong. They
Yeah,
weren't doing
they often
anything,
are.
but
Yeah.
their manner, the way of interaction was not my natural way. But
Mm.
I had to try and squash myself into what I call a box in order to fit in with them,
Mm.
which was not me aligned with who I truly was. So it felt awkward. I felt out of my, out of being myself, which was going to
Mm.
undermine my confidence just for a starter. And then you have all the issues with, very often we are going to be a minority, and the further you get up the ladder, the worse that's going to be. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these messages is telling your subconscious, you shouldn't be here, you're not safe. And even if you know your rights, the subconscious doesn't know what they are. It just knows what it feels. It knows what it
Mm.
perceives, and it's reading
Mm.
from all old subconscious messages. And the subconscious will be saying, you're not safe, you shouldn't be here. And it then says, right, I need to go into what I call subconscious submission, giving the power away, not being myself. So that's the subconscious is pulling us back. Meanwhile, we are trying to push forwards in whatever way whatever compensation mechanism we have. And this, in the book, I've talked about the female power archetypes, which is the typical ways in which we change who we are in order to try and survive and succeed.
Mm.
So we can get to a certain point. If you are the kind of woman who takes on the more masculine, aggressive energies in order to fit in with the male default, you'll probably get higher up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
But we're still running on empty. We're still getting these mixed messages, which is going to undermine us. So we are not, so until we can free ourselves from that deep conditioning and change the way we interact with the world, and these are all things I've worked out how to do, so it took a long time.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Change that interaction so that your subconscious then finally feels safe and doesn't feel we're doing something forbidden. Only then can it allow us to be who we are, who we really are, without squashing ourselves into that box, or suppressing who we are, or holding back, or not speaking up in a meeting, or all those things that are currently labelled as forbidden. So we can get so far, and the mechanisms we've taken on have allowed us to achieve to a certain extent, but we can get a lot further when we understand what's really happening and free ourselves from that. But that has not happened yet, and this is what I'm here to do.
Fabulous.
This is the problem. We thought we were pretty empowered, and women's empowerment was all assuming we were here, but we're actually here under the surface, and we need to understand that to bring ourselves here, and then we can have that true equality and have the achievement in being authentic to ourselves without the personal cost that everyone has to suffer at the moment.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful, and I know that throughout your book you have lots of exercises that people can do to bring that up. Now, I work with a lot of you may or may not know, but I work with a lot of discrimination and equal pay cases at work. So
Right.
I certainly work with a lot of women. So for almost all of them, they feel very distressed at what they've gone through. They've either discovered they've not been paid equally, or they've been suppressed at work, and it's very difficult in terms of like the emotionality of it. Actually is probably one of the most difficult things, how you go home feeling and how you deal with having to deal with that. So is there something that you could give us today as maybe a first step of what you would say to someone in that place who's feeling that way, of what can they do to break out of that?
Oh, absolutely. Well, this is where the key kind of game-changing exercise, the one, which is what I've called the pull back your power exercise. This is the thing that changed everything. It was the missing link for me.
Okay.
The conditioning, and I was saying, why don't I feel different? Why am I not responding differently? A situation would come up, and it would still trigger that anxiety thing. And why is it not working? And then that's when I realized that this power dynamic, which was the problem. So let me explain. When something happens for example, exactly, you know, the sort of situations that these women are dealing with. This is going to trigger all of that subconscious stuff of, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve to be here, I'm in danger, not consciously, but just this undercurrent, right? And what our instinct is, this is very, very sort of instinctual, very low level stuff. Our mind will immediately put all the attention on the issue. So it's just like, you know, the antelope has to put all the attention to check that, to see if the lion is coming. The danger is out there, all our attention goes out there. And that immediately magnifies the power of the thing, problem, and our power goes down. And the more we do that, that's the instinct, that's the knee-jerk response. But then, once our power goes down, we feel less safe. So it goes worse. So it's a spiral down into I'm completely powerless. So when we are in this energetic powerless state, and not a belief in it, but a real energetic powerless state, that means we can't create any change, and we feel completely trapped, and all the panic and anxiety and the stress and the trauma is going to be magnified totally. So the trick is, or the key is, we need to reverse that, and it's very hard to get out of that. But so what I would do is I would teach them the pulling back power technique, and it is so simple, and it changed everything for me and everyone that I've taught this to. So what you do is you simply imagine that there is a wire between your chest and the issue. So it could be a person, it could be an issue, it could be something in the past, it could be an issue in the present, it could be if you've got like a hearing coming up, it could be in the future, doesn't matter. So whatever it is that's triggering your anxiety, your stress, your trauma, and you imagine that your power is like a ball on this wire, a big sizable thing, but you don't have it. The power is with the other party. What you do is you close your eyes, and you can actually do it, or just imagine it.
Okay.
Grabbing the ball and pulling it right back into your chest. And here is the key thing. You put all your attention on that ball of your power inside your body, and you hold it. And by doing that, it's so brilliant, because it takes the danger's there, and it takes it away from that and brings it back to you. And as soon as you do that, it's like a switch in your head, and suddenly the power of the issue begins to go down, and your subconscious begins to feel safer and safer and safer. And it's literally you're deflating the balloon of the issue, and you're inflating your power. And what you'll find is that as you pull that power back and hold it, you find that all those feelings, that anxiety, the trauma, the stress, the worry, it just begins to subside. And then you're going to have a real calmness comes in. And then it's like your subconscious then can begin to understand the reality. So actually, I'm in the right here, you know. I have there are steps that I can take. I'm legally entitled to do this. And that brings that power back to you. So this is something that you're going to want to do a lot if there's a big issue. Sometimes you have to do it, pull and pull and pull, because there's a resistance. You're undoing that switch of I'm in danger. When you do that and pull that in, it just completely changes your reaction. So what you're doing is you are retraining your mind to hold on to your power instead of giving it away.
Lovely.
Because we have spent a lifetime, women are conditioned to do this automatically, to give our power away all the time. When I first started doing this, I would pull it in and oh God, that's better, right? But as soon as I let go of my attention, it would drain away again. It was like pouring water into a sieve. I'd never held my power energetically in my whole life, even though I was there having this high-powered career, thinking I was an empowered woman. I could not hold the energy of my power at all. But so I pulled it in and pulled it in again. And over a couple of weeks, I got so that my system was beginning to hold it. And then it became normal to hold it. But then something would trigger, like that someone would say something nasty to me, and the old trigger would go like that, and I'd feel it. The anxiety would come up, and it would, no, know what to do, pull back the power, hold it, and you regain that. And it's that power dynamic which has been against women forever. We've never had a power foundation. Ever. And what's happening now is that because we now have the opportunity and the freedom to
Mm.
finally do what we want, it's flagging it up into sharp relief. That's
Nice.
why, I mean, this all happened to me 25 years ago.
Mm.
5 years ago, I got my lectureship. So it's because we are pulling further and further away from those old definitions of what we should
Mm.
be, what women should be, shouldn't do, how she should behave, all of that. But
Mm.
that is flagging up this big deficit and this problem with the power flow. So this
Lovely.
pulling back the power is the key thing. Once you do that, then it opens up the way to changing all the programming and the conditioning and really shifting your life. But if you've got
Mm.
an issue, a big thing in your life, you just want to keep pulling back the power from that,
Mm.
holding it, and you'll find that the safety comes back, and then your understanding of your 21st century rights come in, and you will feel more confident, less stressed, less anxious,
Mm.
more in control.
Yeah, well, that's really lovely. It actually answers my next question, because I was going to ask you, I was going to ask you, how do you explain the anomaly? And I was reading, like, the first few chapters of your book, and without trying to sound big-headed, actually, I found getting into law fairly easy, and I had a great moment last year. This is a very non-PC thing to say, so to my
God.
viewers, I love men as well, so I'm sorry. But I was dealing with all these equal pay cases, and then I had a case that wasn't within my expertise necessarily. I mean, I could do it, but it wasn't employment law, which is what I usually do. I was against two men, and we had a costs argument. And I found out that despite one of them having written the textbook on the subject and the other being a lot more senior than me, the highest paid person in that room was me.
Brilliant.
And I was wondering, so you do maybe get anomalies that happen, and how would you explain that? But I guess maybe that is because you are in a situation, from what you said, where you've already felt powerful, so do you think
Well, there
that's
are other factors. So
mm.
it's how much a woman is going to be held back is going to depend on your own life experience, how much
Mm.
conditioning you've had, how many traumas you've had.
Yeah.
If you've had any kind of abuse, it's always going to be magnified.
Yeah.
It's also going to be depending on your unique character. If you
Mm.
are a very outgoing extrovert kind of woman, it's very different than if you're a very shy type.
Yeah.
But so all of that is the thing between men and women.
Mm-hmm.
But those aren't the other factors. There are other issues which obviously are going to affect men as well. And in fact, that's my next book. The operating system is wrong. We have, so women have got, in the last 100 years, we've gone from not having the vote to where we are today. It's only 3 generations. It's hardly anything.
Crazy, yeah.
After millennia of male power.
Yeah.
And so we're here, but all the energies of the operating system, it's the best way to think about it, like a computer, the hidden operating system. It simply hasn't had time to catch up. That's the way to look at it. Hasn't had time to catch up. It's running us automatically under the surface. Some people are more aware than others, right? And while it's not supporting women, it is dragging us back. It's causing all these problems. Also, it's not supporting men either in another way, because because the way that men were defining themselves subconsciously in the past was all about the power over women. And that is now, it is changing. That, and again, is going to affect them. Yeah. So that needs to be addressed as well, because we all need a new operating system. Yeah. And it's not about putting down men. I love men, I love my husband, I love my son.
Of course.
It's not about that at all. It's the fact that what we've inherited has caused all these problems for women. And we need to all, as humanity, move forward into an energy where we can all be true to ourselves, male or female. We can all have our unique power, and that be okay. And nobody be crushed, and nobody be forced into a box that doesn't suit them. That's what we need to get to.
Yes.
And the operating system we have is not even slightly supporting that at the moment. We need to start with the gender stuff, because women are enormously held back by the fact that the whole of the world out there is based on a male default, so everything undermines us. And all the patriarchal beliefs that are very deeply programmed about, you're not allowed to outshine men, not allowed to overtake a man. These things create lots of inner limits. So a woman will get so far in her career, and then there'll be something comes down, and it's because she's like on the point of earning more than her husband, and that's an inner, can't go past that, and that triggers a whole load of other things. I see that, or I describe that in the book as it's like a three-dimensional spider's web. We're literally held in this web, and we try to move and we get pulled back because of all of this. So there's so much that needs to change for women, but it's not just women. The whole of society needs this. It needs a new, updated operating system.
I love that analogy. That's really great. I wanted to invite you to also say a few words about how the having children piece fits into this. Just because I know that in people's careers, some people take that career interruption to have kids. How does that balance with, again, I'm sorry if I'm sounding very non-PC to anyone out there, but fact is women are always going to be the one that are pregnant. Usually it's the woman that takes the career break, and potentially that means that she has less experience when she goes back into the workplace, given, when compared with a man the same age. And I'm just wondering how, those kind of factors get balanced into your studies.
That was something I looked at specifically. What we're dealing with is it's the benchmarks. So the point is that if your benchmark is you leave university, you get the career, you go up, and that's it. And then we have a woman and career break. Therefore, she's not fitting the boxes. Therefore, she's going to suffer. It's the male default again. So what we need is the flexibility and the understanding that it's not just about fitting that particular box. There's this way of doing it, and the woman has a unique energy, a unique thing to offer, which is different because she is female. And just because she hasn't had the linear career path, because she's been creating the next generation, which is kind of important,
No, very, and I will say credit to the divorce courts. In the divorce court, they're hearing none of it in terms of if the man goes, well, I made more money than her and all she did was keep house. You don't argue that in divorce court, because the judge will tell you off whether they're male or female.
I do hear it. But it's all about flagging up and understanding where the benchmarks and the definitions and the defaults are still based on the male experience, and the female version is the aberration. There's something wrong with it.
Right.
It's inferior. That's the message we get at the moment. So it's not a case of, well, that's the system we're stuck with. It's like, okay, there's a genuine problem here. Male benchmark is not the only benchmark. There's a female version, and that has equal value, and we need to change our systems to incorporate that. So that's going to be a very surface 3D world stuff. And what I'm doing is deeper than that. I'm changing the hidden operating system, but it goes hand in hand. And the more we change that underlying operating system, the more it will then be possible to change what's actually going on the surface.
I love it. And thank you so much. It's been fascinating speaking to you. I've loved it. And I can, already see that, a lot of my female clients would absolutely love your work. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
Definitely. So here's what I want to leave you with. So women have never before had a power foundation, and we still don't. So as a woman, we are every day, everything we've achieved has been struggling with the lack of this power foundation. However, if it's affected you, we are always having to deal with that. So think about what you've achieved, and then think, right, how much could I achieve if I free myself from that problem, if I create the power foundation, bring the safety to my subconscious, and finally it's safe to be in my true power the way women have never ever had.
Yes.
What can I achieve then? How magnificent can I be? How amazing can I be? What can I bring to the world then? that's the exciting thing. We have the understanding, finally, we have the tools, we have the freedom, we just put it all together and then create that new paradigm where women can be free to be themselves and achieve. And this is what we're doing now.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. And obviously you can go on Amazon and buy Pull Back Your Power if you wish to. But how can this lovely audience connect with you if they would like?
Okay, so the place to start is the book. The whole process is there, but for women who want to go deeper, I have an online empowerment club and community, and we are there working together online to well, it's always online.
Always online rather than COVID online.
Yeah, change that really deep conditioning and to create power foundation, change that power dynamic with the world in 4 key areas that I look at, and that's like daily life, love, money, and leadership and potential. So the 6 keys of empowerment that I talk about in the book, we are doing all of that on this very deep level. So that's called the Power Sanctuary. I have an online program you can do in your own time, which is Cinderella Boot Camp. And at the moment, I'm also running a mastermind for women who want to do a really deep transformation as the world is going through this rebirth through the virus crisis. And all of that and connection with me is through my website, which is feminineconfidence.com.
feminineconfidence.com. Beautiful. And take care of yourself. It's been such a joy. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yeah, all the best.